All right, folks, let's go ahead and get going. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. Welcome to our February 2023 Town Hall. If we have not met, my name is Maggie. I'm the Community Product Manager for DataHub. We have a ton to get through today, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started there. Okay, so off we go. Like I said, we have plenty to get through. We'll do our regular community and roadmap update, review of our recent releases. We're going to hear from Patrick from the Hurb team to talk through how they have implemented DataHub within their organization. Brittany's going to be coming on to give us a sneak peek of our subscription and notifications work that's ongoing. We also have some improvements to our search API. And then John's going to be talking about some really exciting updates to our queries tab within the dataset page. Tamás is going to talk about unified ingestion for Redshift, and then we're going to have Paul close things out with DataHub 201 to talk through how to even start thinking about rolling out DataHub to your organization after you have it up and running. So from a community standpoint, I actually forgot to check this morning. There's probably right around 6,400 people, but we have 6,400 people in our Slack. I think over the last 4 weeks, we've welcomed, I think, like 435 new members to the community. So we are definitely hitting a new rapid trajectory of people joining. Super exciting. Shirshanka just said in chat, we have 6,401 people in chat, or in Slack. We're still seeing right around 1,000 weekly active users, over 8,500 messages sent just in the past few weeks, and 1,000 emoji reactions. So if you are not in our Slack, just know that it is a very vibrant and helpful place. We have people joining from all over the world and just coming together to have conversations about how to tackle deploying DataHub, how to troubleshoot, but also just kind of bigger, more meta conversations around how do we do modern data governance. So if you are not part of our Slack, I highly recommend joining. One other thing that we like to look at during Town Hall is taking a peek at our support volume. So what does it look like to actually manage this community? Over the past 4 weeks, from a PR standpoint, we saw a higher, we saw about 61 PRs opened on a week by week basis, which is a little bit higher than the period prior to that. But also keep in mind the period prior was over the holidays, so it was a little bit more quiet. But I'm super excited to see that we're continuing to see this like really great throughput of, we're keeping up with the PRs merged as they're opened. So we're definitely trying to keep that PR count, open PR count low and to keep those things moving through. On the other side of things, so within our Slack, we saw a very large uptick in activity over the past 4 weeks. Like I said, it's a super vibrant community where people are coming in to ask questions across all topics around deployment, around just even getting started or troubleshooting with DataHub. So we were seeing around an average of 1,000 support messages per week. And this is where I'd like to remind folks that if you're able to hop in and help and provide direction or support, we deeply, deeply appreciate it. It frees up bandwidth on the core DataHub team side so that we can really focus on moving through those PRs and building out our roadmap. For folks that are integrating DataHub, maybe new to DataHub, and also integrating with BigQuery, just a heads up that we are going to have a hands-on workshop on March 9th. So feel free to join us there. We do have limited seats since it's more of an interactive session, but we look forward to welcoming you folks to another workshop. Those have been just really like very beneficial sessions for folks. So if you're curious, you're just getting started, join us and we will go ahead and walk you through that. In terms of other events coming up, we have a lot going on at Data Council in Austin. We are teaming, so first things first, we are teaming up with the folks over at Great Expectations and Astronomer to host a happy hour on the evening of the 29th. We would love to see you there. It's going to be at a place called Lazarus Brewing. We'll have a bunch of food, drinks, opportunity to network. And we're also going, it's a little bit, it's in the downtown. I don't know what I'm talking about with Austin, but it's in the downtown area. We're going to provide vouchers for Uber so we can get you there safely. Ryan and Eric, who are both Austin natives, said that that's a great choice. So join us for some drinks and food and networking. That'll be a lot of fun. But then separate from that, I'm going to be speaking. We have Shirshanka likely speaking. We're trying to firm up details there, but I'll be speaking with Kyle to kind of highlight how open source communities can partner together to kind of drive momentum and kind of the synergy there. And then Paul and I are going to be leading a hands-on workshop again for kind of newbies or newcomers to DataHub. So there is a ton going on at Data Council this year. I'm super excited about this one. I'm also hosting a track. If you are able to come, and if you have not signed up yet, if you use the code DataHub20, you'll get 20% off of your ticket there. I am super excited to announce that our DevRel team has grown. We have welcomed Haejin Yoon to our team. She is based out of South Korea, so she's not joining us live today just due to time zone differences, but she recorded a little welcome video for us.
Hello, I'm Haejin Yoon. I'm really excited to join the DataHub team as a developer relationship engineer. Here's my cat. And I've been working as a data engineer and a technical writer. And while adopting DataHub in my company, I was really impressed how active the community and how passionate the team was. So I'm really thrilled to join the team and work with Maggie and Paul. And yeah, I hope to see you in another town hall. I hope you're having a great day. Bye.
Amazing. So yeah, we are super excited to have her come on board. So we'll be announcing that in our DataHub Slack next week, and super excited to have you all start working together with her.
Hello, I'm Haejin.
Don't play it again. There we go. Okay, now it's time for my personal favorite part of Town Hall. Our community is only as good and great as the people that are within it. So let's take some time to shout out the wonderful humans behind the scenes. If you are not following it yet, we have our DataHub community blog where folks are posting topics related to data governance, specifically to deploying DataHub or otherwise. So check this one out from Venkata, a great overview of how to even start tackling a data governance journey. Highly recommend checking this one out. It was super informative. Separate from that, we like to give a big shout out to folks who are jumping in to provide community support. Paul put this list together. I think this is the largest list of community supporters that we've ever seen. It is a tremendous number of people. Thank you all so much for jumping in and helping out. Like I said, it really, well, for one, it fosters just a really supportive and just collaborative community that people keep coming back to, but it also just, you know, frees up bandwidth on our side so we can continue to make some really rapid improvements to the project and keep that project moving forward. So seriously, massive thanks to all of you folks. We genuinely are very appreciative of all of your support there. Separately, we like to call out folks or organizations that have officially adopted DataHub. This is a great way for folks who are trying to learn more about DataHub or trying to understand, you know, what's this all about, who's using it. This is a really strong signal to newcomers of the strength and the vibrancy of the community when we're able to officially announce that organizations have adopted the tool. So huge shout out to the team over at Airtel and Van Moof. These are both huge organizations with a lot of, really exciting organizations with a lot of momentum behind them. We're really appreciative of both your your efforts to implement DataHub within your organization, but also to partner with us in the community to help it be a super active and successful project there. And if your organization if your organization has officially adopted DataHub, we would love to celebrate you at a town hall. We'd also love to partner with you on either case studies or town hall talks, or there's a ton of ways that we can collaborate there. So feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you about it. Okay, we're going to switch gears over to our roadmap. Excuse me. From a user experience standpoint, We have kicked off a couple of initiatives. Brittanie and I have begun this week starting to think through how we can start to solicit feedback and get a better sense of how we can start to improve the browse experience. Historically, we focused a lot on making our search experience really robust, but we want to switch gears a little bit and start to dig into what's it like for folks who are coming into DataHub, are looking for something, but maybe they actually don't know what to search for, right? So they're just kind of browsing around a little bit, trying to get the lay of the land. So keep an eye on Slack there. We're going to be reaching out to folks to start building out some user interviews, maybe some surveys along the way. And yeah, we'd love your feedback there. Separately, we have in flight our subscriptions and Slack notifications. We'll see a demo of that later, so I'm not going to touch on that too much. On the ingestion side, we nothing to report back just yet, but we will keep you all posted there. And then in terms of our developer experience, we have from our search relevance improvements, we are going to see a demo on pagination support, but then we've also already merged in improvements to autocomplete, full text and stemming improvements, as well as related entities and exact match. So great progress on our roadmap. And if you want to kind of keep an eye on this, we do our best to keep this roadmap view live or accurate and up to date. So just keep an eye there and you can just see what we're working on. In terms of our recent releases, we had one release since we last met about 3 weeks ago for Town Hall, which was rolling out version 0.10. We did version up on this one from 0.9 to 0.10 because it required a pretty substantial re-indexing for some search improvements. And Shirshanka is going to talk about that in just a second. But just over the past few weeks, and this is literally like 3 weeks since we last met, we merged in over 200 PRs across the DataHub project and DataHub Helm. We had 14 first-time contributors, which is just outstanding to me that we continue to see new and exciting contributions across the board, and 30 repeat contributors. So again, thank you to all the folks who are jumping in to push code to help make the project really strong and to keep things moving forward there. Shirshanka, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk through what we saw in V010.
Thanks, Maggie. Some of this is going to be duplicative with what Maggie already covered, so I'll go over it very quickly. V0.10 was a huge release. We took our time to get it out the door, but it has a ton of stuff. A lot of it is improvements in search. You'll see, finally that copy URN button is useful, because you can take that URN and actually drop it into the search bar and search for stuff. Autocomplete and a bunch of other things, stemming. So search experience has been improved dramatically. David and Ryan are going to talk about performance improvements that they're got cooking. The other big thing that I'm excited about is time-aware lineage. So, lineage evolves over time. And previously, we had just a static view of lineage, but now you'll actually be able to move back and forth in time to understand how lineage has changed. And I think that's going to be quite interesting and create a lot more awareness of how lineage changes over time. Of course, we've talked about the big contribution from the Grab team about the new documentation editor. So once you get this release deployed at your company, you'll hopefully see a lot more excitement around writing documentation and that experience looking amazing. On the integrations front, as usual, we've got a lot of updates to connectors. Some of it even Tamás is going to cover. What is so cool about this list is a lot of it is being driven by the community now, right? So you look at all these people that are actually jumping in and improving these connectors. This is great. We're also doing some work on our own as well. We have a goal this quarter of adding in support for data products, schemas, and data contracts, like I shared last town hall. One important part of this is actually improving our coverage of all kinds of schemas in the ecosystem. And JSON schema is something that is quite popular, but we didn't have support for it previously. So just recently merged in support for JSON schemas. If you're using the Confluent schema registry and you have JSON schemas in there, we now support it. And if you're just managing your JSON schemas as code in Git, we have support for that too. So that's pretty excited about that. Give it a whirl. And developer experience, we talked about DataHub Lite last time. It's available for you to use. Warning, it is an experimental feature, but we want to hear whether you like it, what use cases it actually creates for you, and we want to iterate based on that feedback. That's all I had.
All righty. And I believe that wraps it up. Perfect. So that's that does it for community and project updates. Patrick, I'm gonna hand it over to you, sir.
Okay, can you hear me well?
We can hear you.
Okay, let me share my screen. So, can you hear my screen? Can you hear?
Yep, we can see
Can you
it.
see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Sorry. So, hello everyone. My name is Patrick. I'm data engineer at Hurb, and today I want to present to you the DataHub implementation journey. So I separated this presentation in 4 sections. And the first one, I want to present to you a little about Hurb. In the second session, I will talk about challenge that we have and why we decided to use DataHub. In the third second, I want to talk about the adoption steps. And at the final, I want to introduce to you how we are today and what plans do you have? Where do you want to come? So talking a little about Hurb, we are a Brazilian online travel agency, and we offer travel deals that include hotel accommodations, activities, and travel packages. Travel package is a unique worldwide product that offers an affordable and flexible way to travel. So basically, the traveler just needs to choose dates in the future where he wants to travel, and Hurb takes care of everything for him. But how is it possible, and what are the challenges involved? So Hurb counts on a solid data-driven culture across the company and a team with data analysis, data scientists, machine learning, and data engineers that is growing and working hard to build a secured framework for the company decision making. With that, we have to deal with different issues in our daily routine. So I want to present to you some challenges that we have and just to briefly describe them. So one of them is the fast growing data assets. So as our company grows, new solutions are created and to meet company aims. And this is very related to the complex data platform. So new solutions may require new technologies or new data integrations. Talk a little about resource cataloging a data assets discovery. The question is, what's the value to have many data assets if you cannot find them or discover their purpose? So this is a problem. There's a huge problem that we had. And the traceability of data origin is basically, it plays an important role when strategic decisions rely on information or data. So with the traceability of data origin, we can find and discover how data was transformed, if it was transformed correctly, and if the data has load to a specific location. And at the final, the most important one is building a single source of truth. In Hurb, we deal with different services, and our primary services are Metabase and BigQuery. So we can catalog our assets within these 2 different services, but catalog different assets in using distinct services can cause metadata inconsistencies. So with these problems, with this challenge in mind, we started to think about a data governance project. So the first step was to create a project requirements documentation. So this documentation consolidates all the requirements in a clear and concise manner. The idea was how can I say, was to map problems and expectations from the tool, like how users will use the platform, how can we engage collaborators to use the platform, how applications will communicate, and other questions. So after we create the document and after we create the requirements document, we started to to search for data catalog tools. So we found DataHub. And why we decided to implement DataHub inside our company. So I can cite 4 main points that drive our idea to implement DataHub. First of all is the user-friendly interface. We have a solid self-service culture inside the company. So we want to permit any collaborator to access and navigate our services in a unique platform. So the collaborator can find assets they want and build analysis that can help him in his daily routine. Another point is the active and receptive community. So it's very important at the implementation journey to have a helpful community, because it's give you the assurance that if you have any problem, you will find help fast. Another point is the contribution opportunity. So we have a strong open source culture inside the company, and we want to position ourselves as a solid Brazilian company. And finally, built-in ingestion sources with our primary services, that is Metabase and BigQuery. So I summarize the journey in these steps. First, we started with the POC phase. After we start to host our DataHub instance. And with the DataHub instance inside our Kubernetes cluster, we start the customization phase. And finally, I will present to you how is our integration stack today. So in the POC phase, we tested all available features at the moment and integrations with our primary services like BigQuery and Metabase. And it's important to note that we use VMs to deploy the DataHub using custom Docker Compose files. So with custom Docker Compose files, we could change environment variables to test different behaviors of the DataHub. This phase was important because of decisions that we make for the future. So one of the most important was to disable the front-end ingestion. So we want to use DataHub as a source of truth. So the ingestion through UI was not an exciting feature for us since we could control the ingestion through backends. And that's why we decided to orchestrate our ingestion with Apache Flow. So to use our flow as our ingestion orchestrated, we separate the dependencies with Kubernetes pod operator. So our flow just needs to start pods and provide the parameters for the execution. For that, we create a deck factory that gather different ingestion recipes and builds the ingestions. Okay, so talking about the Kubernetes deployment phase, we faced with some issues like in the development experience. How can I say? Managing environment variables across multiple deployments and multiple values files is costly. So all through, we know subcharts are recommended as good practice. We decided to refactor DataHub community charm into a flattened version. Besides, we started to test the usage of config maps in separated scopes to manage environment variables through different applications. So This was the most important decisions. And one thing that is important to note, it's we are planning to open source our Helm chart in the future. I think this year. Talking about the customization phase. We know that I already have an Airflow integration with DataHub, but we had problems with the dependencies. So we decided to implement a new integration in our side based on the community integrations and use a new concept of Airflow that is dataset objects. So data engineers can enrich metadata during Airflow DAGs development. With this integration, we can not only take advantage of triggering the execution of DAGs by changes in datasets, but we can automatically build lineage with lineage backend. So this integration is helping us to build our complete life cycle of data assets. Okay, so how is our stack today? I created this diagram to show the integrations that we have today, and I forgot to talk about Anomaly. Anomaly is a data quality platform that we use to build our data validations. So Airflow manages all the ingestion into DataHub, and with this integration, we have the visibility or quality control from source to destiny. And one thing that's very important that we are frequently using the impact analysis feature to see who is impacted with some change or data issue that Anomaly finds. And talking about our roadmap, one important thing that we are currently working in is customizing our front end. So we find that it's very important to use the company visual identity, and this will help employees to identify with the tool and increase engagement. And this is very important because we want to adopt DataHub, or so-called DataHub internally, as a data product for the company. And the other things that we are planning to do is customize the metadata model to include APIs and metric entities. Most part of our data sources are APIs, and now we are working to build our semantic layer. So these two entities will be very important for us. Another thing is to integrate our machine learning models and services in our stack. So it will help us to build our full data lineage from source to services that are using. And finally, we want to use the actions framework. The actions framework will help us to build an audit log history of users' actions and build dashboards to follow platform evolution and engagement. We are currently using Kibana with Elasticsearch to build a KPI dashboard, but we are planning to ingest this metadata to BigQuery to use our primary analytics services, that is Metabase. So that is what I plan to present to you today. If you have any question, feel free to contact me. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick. Love DataHub. That's amazing. What a great what a great rename. Maybe we should rebrand as a community. Who knows? All right. So thank you so much. Also, Patrick, I believe you're going to be at Data Council in March. Is that true? Well, I think you're going to be there. So we'll hang out in Austin. All right. So we are going to hand things over to Brittanie to talk through some a sneak peek of our upcoming subscription and notification feature.
Hey, everyone. Can I see my screen? We're doing good?
Yep, you're good to go.
Awesome. Great. Hi, everybody. If you haven't gotten a chance to meet me, I'm a product designer here at Acryl, and I'm excited to welcome you to our first edition of Sneak Peek. So as well as a sneak peek of what is actually my first big project here with the team. So sneak peek means you're going to see mocks of designs in the UI of the product and not necessarily develop code as of now. But we do want to show you how we're making progress on our Q1 roadmap for subscriptions and notifications. And just keep in mind that as these are designs, we are iterating. And if you have any feedback on anything you hear or see today, feel free to DM me in Slack at Brittanie, and I would love to hear it. So before jumping in, where did we even get this from? Why is this on our roadmap? You know, we're listening to you as much as you talk to us. So thank you to all who add your feature requests, upvote features that you see on there, and a special thank you to those who add some comments and a little more color to your requests. So we've been hearing a lot from the community and organizations who are using DataHub about how it would be very useful to be able to subscribe to entities and get notifications about anything that changes. But there's a lot to, you know, where to receive notifications, what kind of changes, what would you be using this for? And we wanted to dig in a little bit deeper so that we can make sure that we're building something that's useful for all of you. So as a little bit of a background on that, I did get to meet about 5 of you in the community and talk to you a little bit more in depth about how you guys are using DataHub and how subscriptions and notifications can help you. Informally, we've talked to a handful of other organizations as well who have been looking for this feature. And after hearing that feedback, we sent out a survey. So thank you to those who filled out. We got 28 responses on that as well. So high level things that we heard, some probably not super surprising to you all, but there's a big drive, right, to optimize teams for self-service, but not just any self-service, like well-informed. What is quality? What can you trust? The teams want to get ahead of breaking changes or have that support if something doesn't run as expected or a schema changes, that those who are consuming that data are well aware and they're getting that communication as soon as possible. Another theme that we heard is consumers may not always know what they need to subscribe to. There can be a little bit of a black box about what those upstreams are, which we obviously have impact analysis, but may not even, how do we help support knowing what to even subscribe to? And then that's all about quality and breaking changes. We did also hear about use cases of driving compliance and governance from privacy data. And so if something has a new tag added to it, how do we make sure that the whole organization knows how to treat this piece of data? And lastly, we need to notify the people where they are. So obviously we're going to work towards having these notifications seen in DataHub, but there's a big drive for Slack, and then I'll hopefully fast follow with email and Teams later. And this chart is just showing of all the different kinds of notifications we called out, and again, breaking changes, kind of schema changes, assertions, incidents, deprecation being on that higher end of value. So without further ado, what does this look like so far? I have a little bit of a video here. So we're on an entity profile page. You can subscribe to it, and here is a table. So all the different types of things that you could know that have changed: failing assertions, deprecation, schema changes, something that we're currently calling operational metadata. So if rows are inserted, you might expect that every 24 hours. Is that happening? And then as well as documentation changes on the entity as well. And here you can see you can add in email, which is coming later down, or your Slack member ID if your instance has Slack enabled to receive those notifications. Once you've subscribed, you're obviously going to want to see where all your subscriptions are. So we are building out this view as well to see all of your subscriptions in your profile and manage them and edit them as needed. But that is not all. This is in our DataHub open source. I want to show a few more features we'll be building out for that, as well as some that'll be available in our managed version. So on the last video, you saw a table, but here we're showing a dashboard. So one, we're going to have entity specific events. So obviously there are no schema changes for a dashboard, but documentation and deprecation are still valuable notifications for it. So having that customization, relevancy to the entity type, as well as being able to sync a notification to groups. So maybe specifically you don't want one person to know about a change, but an entire group in your organization who depends on a specific data set for their daily reporting or metrics might want to know. And so you want to send that notification to a Slack group specifically of when something has changed on it. And then here for our managed data hub, we are going to try to shine a light on that black box of what should I even subscribe to. So adding that ability to subscribe to upstream entities that will change as your lineage changes. And then for those, they might have assertions, they might have schemas for all those, most likely will for those upstreams of a dashboard. And so being able to set those granular notifications as well. So again, this is in the works for Q1. We're hoping to have a PR at the end of this quarter or early Q2. That's when you should expect it. We are building out for Slack first with fast follows on email and then hopefully Teams, but we're always looking for those who want to contribute to specific integrations that are valuable to you and others. So feel free to help out there. And again, if you have any feedback on anything you saw today, feel free to DM me. We'd love to hear it. Thanks to those who have given me feedback thus far.
Thank you, Brittanie. There's a lot of love in chat. I know a lot of folks are going to be excited for this. It looks fantastic too. Again, can I reiterate how excited and happy I am that we have Brittanie on board as our full-time designer? My goodness, she's really leveling us up. Okay, we are going to switch gears and talk about some improvements to our search. John, sorry, buddy, it's not your turn yet. You'll come next. Ryan and David, I'll hand it over to you two.
Sure, yeah. So I've just got a quick demo today, so I will go ahead and share my screen to give some context on what's going on here. So historically, our search APIs have been using a from and count system. So basically, whenever you're searching a page, it would start at a certain number and then go to a number. There are quite a few problems with this on the Elasticsearch side, one of which prevents you from searching anything past 10,000 search results. That's as a memory constraint on the Elasticsearch side. There's some technical details there, but essentially it's extremely inefficient to use that type of query on Elasticsearch. So what we have done here is implemented the search after. So this is a scrolling type search. So basically you send in a search for a certain number of, so you're still searching for a count. So you get a page, and then what happens is you get this scroll ID. So what that scroll ID is a pointer to where you are in your current search results. So let's just kind of show what that's about. So basically, right. So I didn't get a scroll ID here because I searched for a query that has less than 10 results. So that shows off one behavior that I was going to show off in this demo, but a little bit later, but I'll go ahead and explain it now. So basically, whenever you query something and you query beyond that current count, you're going to get null back in this next scroll ID. That signals to you that you no longer need to continue scrolling. That's just the API detail there. So you would keep issuing these queries as long as you want to keep searching through entities. And as long as you keep on getting scroll IDs back, you can continue scrolling. But let's change this query to something that's going to give me back a lot more results. Right. So here you can see that I got the scroll ID back. And the first result here we see is a chart. So if I take this scroll ID, and just pop it in here and reissue that same search, this first search result is now a different result, right? And you can keep doing this, just taking this and going, and it will continue giving you the next page of results. And so under the hood, this is using the search after API of Elasticsearch, which, if you're familiar with, does not have the limitation that you can not go past 10,000 results. And it should be a lot more efficient on like deep pagination. So we're excited to have that. And just really quick, this has also been implemented on the lineage side. Lineage uses the search across entities under the hood. So it was just another endpoint, this scroll across lineage endpoint. And execute that. So this is the lineage for a particular data set. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had there. Any questions? Let me know.
Yeah, if there are questions, let's throw them in chat or in Slack. Thank you so much, Ryan and the platform team, for working on this. This is a really, this is a I don't know, great signal to me that we needed to do this work, because it means that folks are adopting DataHub at such scale that we need to address these issues, right? So super excited to have this coming out. It should help with both, you know, like just the general search environment, but also, or the search experience, but also the search across lineage, where there is a ton of complexity within that graph. So thank you so much to Ryan and the Acryl platform team. Appreciate you guys. John, the time has come.
My turn? Okay.
It's finally your turn.
Wonderful. Thank you, Maggie, and thanks, Ryan. One other thing I wanted to point out on Ryan's presentation is that this will help to fix the long-standing issues around download as CSV with large numbers of results. So that was actually related to the pagination limits that the Elasticsearch APIs enforced on us. All right, with that, let's switch gears and let's talk about a new feature that we've been working on the product team. So maybe first, I'm John. For everyone who doesn't know me, I lead the product team execution at Acryl. And in the past few weeks, we've been working to redesign the queries tab on the dataset page. So what we can do is go through what the queries tab looks like today, what are the challenges with it, and what we ended up building. I'll do a quick demo, and then I'll talk about when this will be available. All right. So the queries tab today is basically very basic, to put it bluntly. It is a list of recently executed queries that we can extract from certain ingestion sources. It has limited support. So for example, we're only able to extract queries from systems like Snowflake, Redshift, BigQuery. I think there may be one or two others, handful of others that we can support it for. It lacks context. So as you can see in the screenshot here, it's just kind of showing you individual queries that were run. It doesn't give you really much additional context around it. It doesn't let you, copy and paste this query easily, anything like that. It's hard to discover these queries because we have kind of a very long list of them. It can be very long in some cases, and it's just a flat list. So, not very conducive to looking through them or searching through them. And then it lacks any, human curation. So these could be, automated queries that humans really are never going to be running against this table anyways, which in a lot of cases is just not that useful. And so We took a look at these challenges. We also took a look at some asks that we've received from the community and our customer base. And one of the common themes was that, we needed a way to view, document, and share, other commonly used SQL queries. Maybe not ones that are executed by a daily job, but ones that analysts are going to be running in more of an ad hoc fashion. And so on the right here, you'll see one of the feature requests that we received, which is basically a way to have curated query set on the dataset page alongside the top queries or the recently executed queries that we have. And so with that, I'm going to jump into a demo and kind of show you guys what we ended up building and what will be released. So I'll jump over to here. You can imagine we have this pet profiles data set on Snowflake, and maybe this is representing unique pets in a pet store. So we've got a pet ID, a pet type, some other fields here. And if we navigate over to the queries tab, you'll immediately see that there's one section here already. And what you're looking at here is actually the exact thing that we had on the previous query tab. So it's a list of recently executed queries that have been actually run against this table. What you'll notice is another important control that we've added, which is this add query button. And so what you can do if you click this is you can basically come in and create a curated query to share with the rest of your organization. So let's say we do something like this. We want to select all pet profiles where pet type is equal to dog. And maybe you want to order by created at, and maybe we want to limit it to 10. And then what we can basically do is just pin this query to the data set. So we'll give it a title. We'll say maybe select, all dogs ordered by creation date. And finally, we can add some rich context to this query. So we can use this rich documentation editor to say things like, when should this query be used? Maybe when doing analytics. And we can also add other rich context like, who should be contacted about this query. And of course, we have this rich text editor now. So you'll be able to find someone specific and maybe what are, alternative queries or modifications of this query. So we can add this rich context, we can save it. And what you'll see is a new section appears up above recent queries, which is called highlighted queries. And this is a set of curated shared queries for this data set. You can see it's got the context that I added. We can also easily copy it. We can expand it to full screen, do the same thing here, and then we can read that rich documentation. So this just gives you another way to add rich context to any data sets on DataHub. And it's kind of, it breaks us from that dependency on having support for ingesting these things automatically, because this is now supported across any data set in DataHub, where you'll be able to come in here and add these rich queries. One other cool thing is you'll be able to search through them. So if you care about queries that contain certain things, maybe the created at field, I'm able to filter this stuff out. Maybe I care about pet ID. And so that's down here. And then finally, I'll just show you what it looks like when we have a lot of queries, because this was another common complaint with the queries tab. You'll see that we actually have pagination now on each section. So you'll be able to paginate through these things. And of course, the search will continue to work across those as well. All right, I'm going to jump back in. Maybe the final thing that I missed maybe is you can always edit and delete the queries from here as well. So the full management process in the queries tab now. All right, back to the demo and the slides and just a quick recap. So with the new queries tab, you'll be able to create, document, and discover important queries about your data right on DataHub in context. In terms of availability, this will be available in the next release. It's already merged in, so you can find it on the demo website as well. And if you have feedback or questions, we're always listening, so please let us know in Slack. And with that, I think that wraps up the feature demo.
Amazing. Thanks so much, John. And please take a look in chat. There's a handful of questions for you. All right, zooming along. We're getting a little short on time. So just a heads up, Tamás and Paul, keep an eye on that clock, pretty please. Tamás, I will hand it over to you to review some of the recent improvements to our Redshift ingestion. And I presume you're sharing, yes?
Yeah, I'm going to share. Thanks.
Perfect.
Yeah, I hope you can see my screen, right?
Yep,
yeah.
you're good to go.
So I'm Tamás. Actually, I'm working on the ingestion side, and I will just give you a quick update about what you can expect, what changes you can expect in the Redshift source. So if you are using the Redshift source, or if you are not, you might know that if you want to ingest metadata or lineage, you can use the Redshift source, which looks like on the screen, a sample ingestion recipe, and then you can basically ingest that. But if you want to basically extract the queries and the top queries and usage, you need a separate recipe, which is called like the Redshift source. And I guess if you are seeing the first time now, you might ask why we have two recipe or like two different source for this. If you are using, I guess you asked this question a couple of times. And actually, I think it's a fair question, and a couple of other people as well asked this question. So basically, we are going to unify, and in the future, we will have like one source which can extract as well the usage as well. We did this change for BigQuery and Snowflake already, and now Redshift is the next to have this. But you can expect this change pretty soon, and not just this change, but there will be a couple of new features or changes, and improvements with the Redshift source. I just give you a few examples. Like we are going to show this key and sort key, which previously we didn't show on the UI. Now we are extracting that, and you will see on the next to those columns. We also get table level profiling information from the table stats, which means it will be free. We don't have to run any additional queries to get these information, like table counts, and when the table was last time updated, we're getting these information from the information schema of Redshift. We are finally supporting properly the Spectrum, Redshift Spectrum types. I guess if you use Spectrum, you saw that a couple of times we have like null types, or there was failing types. Now it should be fixed, and also we are improving like the complex type, like structs and arrays, so it will be supported as well nicely, as you can see on the screen. And then last but not least, basically we are as well improving our copy lineage support. So if you're using the copy lineage in Redshift, you might see that if you had like a tons of files in a folder on S3, then basically for each file we added one S3 entity on DataHub. So it's in the future you can provide a passback, what you can use with the S3 source as well, or we can as well just get the folder name, and as you can see in the screen, and only storing that and not each file individually. So you don't have to be afraid about like having tons of files on Redshift, on DataHub. And there are a couple of other small changes what you can expect, and hopefully these will land soon. So it's on PR. Yeah, so you can expect to have this in the near future.
Thank you much, Tamás. All right, we have one more round to go. So for those of you who have not seen a DataHub 101 or 201 before, every once in a while, we like to make sure that folks kind of understand the basics of DataHub, understand some of the more advanced features of DataHub. So Paul's going to walk us through some tips for how to roll out DataHub within your organization.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie. These are inspired from conversations we've had with the community and customers for Acryl Data. So yeah, let's just get going. So this is just 5 tips to roll out DataHub to your organization after you've deployed. So the first one is educate and deprecate around data catalogs. So this is kind of a decision tree. If you already have a if you've never had a data catalog, educate about it. We have a lot of materials in the DataHub blog that you can check out. These are some articles, and we'll go ahead and share those out. The other thing is, if you previously have a DataHub, data catalog, create a deprecation plan. Forward communicate hard deadlines, stages where you'll stop having an API, disable the UI, or fully deprecate. Make use of banners in that tool and Slack announcements to increase awareness, and use soft and hard deadlines. Soft deadlines like redirecting to DataHub from your old tool, and hard deadlines like actually tearing down infrastructure when the functionality has been replaced by DataHub. Also, pair it with other onboarding techniques like enlisting champions. So you want to identify key stakeholders in your organization so that they'll be evangelists in your early rollout. Common personas for this include data engineers, ML engineers, analysts, data stakeholders, and administrators. Find out what tools they work with and try to integrate them into DataHub. Schedule one-on-one time with them to test, educate, and do progress checks to ensure that they're getting the most from the tool. Get examples, aha moments, key learnings from them, and use those in quotes to broadcast to your larger audience. Help them teach their teams and onboard them individually. This is sort of the flywheel of creating more and more people who are using DataHub correctly in your organization. And not everyone has this option, but Etsy, for example, had a data discovery team that handled all of the ingestions and custom scripting, which makes it really easy to create a critical mass of data within your DataHub and make it more useful. Third, email campaigns and Slack channels. Establish a designated Slack or Teams channel for the rollout where you can announce things. Link the channel in relevant company and team-wide channels. Create a regular email campaign where you inform users on the state of your rollout and drive adoptions with hooks like quotes from your champions, links to really interesting or relevant discoveries within your DataHub instance, communications on rollout or deprecations. And be sure to include any materials that are educational from our blog or our YouTube, or make your own, which will help people with context within their own organization. And of course, use those quotes from power users to speak to personas and value adds. Fourth, create regular onboarding workshops and office hours. Make people's lives easier, help them walk away with net new knowledge, schedule presentations and demos during learning weeks, and make sure you get on the docket for internal meetups. And lean on your champions to find that story that sticks with users. For example, Etsy found that data governance conversation was really compelling, and DataHub was the perfect solution for this problem that was affecting their entire org. And then make sure that you're available for troubleshooting, create office hours, and have them regularly. Once a week is a great cadence. Finally, establish some goalposts, timelines for daily active users and how many users you've onboarded. Document like the state of your instance at regular intervals, take snapshots so you can see how far you've come. Encourage governance expectations like adding ownership to assets, creating glossary terms within domains, or making all of the lineage populated for certain tools. And work with your stakeholders to identify those new use cases. An example was Etsy found out that there was a great expectations deployment going on at the same time as their DataHub deployment, and they were able to integrate that, and it really increased their success. Don't focus on too small of a use case. Really try to bring in as much as you can, but and this is some common pitfalls. But at the same time, don't start with too little data and just everything you can that adds value, but don't just grab anything. Review those sources and make sure that you're not ingesting really poorly managed things or blank data sets so that you're not causing friction when people go in looking for their thing and can't find it or find that it's not right. And don't wait until the metadata is perfect. Really, DataHub thrives when you encourage your users to take ownership and start filling in those gaps with glossary terms and other populated metadata. So that was a really quick how to roll out DataHub after you've deployed it. A really big thank you to Tim from Innovex and Juan from Etsy for sharing their learnings. And I'll turn it back over to you, Maggie.
Thank you so much. That was so fast, Paul. Oh my gosh, you crammed so much content in there in like 4 minutes. There's so much to unpack, but great starting point for folks. We're also going to have some associated like blog posts to go along with that. So we'll kind of dig into some more examples and flesh that out a little bit. But folks, this is it. We made it through February. Jane asked where we can find the slides. I will be posting in announcements. Once we have, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I will post in announcements in Slack. Once we have loaded the recording to YouTube, I will also post out to the links there. The YouTube video will also have a link to the slides so we can share it there. Thank you folks for joining. We'll stick around for a minute or two if there's any other questions live. But thank you for your time and your focus and your attention. We appreciate you. And I hope you have a wonderful remainder to your week.